The governor of Oregon quietly, and apparently nobody knew it, signed a bill which would require the removal of all standards in Oregon public schools that measure performance. In other words, kids who are functionally and actually illiterate will be promoted and graduated, no questions asked. I'm Dr. Duke, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. All right, Katie is kicking us off today with a look at the health, if you can call it that, of our republic.
Fascists want to have their birthday cake and eat it too. Happy birthday, Barack Obama. You sure know how to throw a party, even with COVID ravaging the nation. Or so we're told. Before we get to rock and rolling, as always, if you like what's happening around here, please subscribe to the Healthy Republic YouTube channel so we can build it up, since the overlords have shadow banned us on our Freedom Project page. And make sure to share this video with your homies so they can see how much the elites hate you.
All right. First of all, let's try not to be obnoxious and offensive in your tone, because you're 100% wrong.
Oh, how that one aged so well. Groper of New York. Which brings us to today's question. How much more will us proletariats allow before actually doing something about the patricians partying it up on the coast and just outright lying to us?
Don't you remember that?
It was 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're now going to override. We did it already. That's the law.
The law. The law does not apply to our rulers.
Former President Obama has been a huge advocate of individuals getting vaccinated. What CDC has provided guidance on is for indoor settings in high or substantial high zones of COVID cases. This event, according to all the public reporting, is outdoors and in a moderate zone. But in addition, there is testing requirements and other steps they are taking, which I'm sure they can outline for you in more detail.
So let us begin. In true Hunger Games District 1 fashion, over the weekend Barack Obama held his 60th birthday party at his Martha Vineyard home, all $11.75 million of it. And in true Hunger Games fashion, some people had to be cut from the list because of the COVID. Sorry, comedians, nothing fun or funny about this party, only Beyonce. You couldn't have 700 people gather. That's just dangerous. So instead, a mere 400 people gathered.
It is within our power, if we pull together in a unified, consistent way.
It's science. The Obamas had rented the property in the past, but now that Barack's not president, clearly he can afford the $11.75 million estate. He made $400,000 a year as president. So just Common Core math that equation, and boom, you can afford millions. Let's be clear, I don't care that he had a big party. When I hit 60, if I hit 60, I'll be stoked to know the people currently running this country won't be around, and that alone is party worthy. But the point is that if Obama is having a birthday party, you can have your birthday party, or your kid's birthday party, or your parents', or really anybody's birthday party. After 2020, celebrate whatever milestones you can. The moral of this Aesop fable is that you can work hard and play hard. The ants and the grasshopper. Yet Obama needs to remember that he is not that important, the gnat and the bull. Except that Obama and company won't take any morals to heart because that requires taking morals to heart. Instead, they just want you to know that they are the bull and you are the gnat. Or in other comparisons, they are the wolf and we are the lambs. A tyrant will always find excuses for the tyranny he does. Obama danced the night away while you had to mask up your 2-year-old, while you had to close your business, while Black Lives Matter then physically destroyed that business, while that then caused your irrevocable depression that led to suicide. So party on, Obama. Have all those maskless people there with no cares in the whole wide world, just dancing, and oh, don't forget about that hug at the end. That footage is precious because the tyrants ordered it immediately down. You can't have the truth revealed, after all. It may cause an uprising. Now, here are the heroes we didn't know we needed. Rapper Trap Beckham on the right and his manager T.J. Chapman leaked the photos from the party on their social media, revealing all the details about the pot smoking, which is legal in Massachusetts, that they clearly enjoyed. The high-end steak, chicken, and shrimp menu that was supposed to be meat-free for all those lame people. And the dancing. Yes, the dancing. Looks like a good time, and we are told that we must accept their hypocrisy because they know what is best. After all, they are sophisticated.
They're following all the safety precautions. People are going to sporting events that are bigger than this. This is going to be safe. This is a sophisticated, vaccinated crowd, and this is just about optics. It's not about safety.
On the note of optics, climate czar John Kerry was rumored to have made the cut for Barry's bash. Footage showed him arriving to the party, ready to boogie down.
Pollution, I understand that you came here with a private jet. Is that an environmental way to travel?
If you offset your carbon, it's the only choice for somebody like me who is traveling the world to win this battle.
Ah, yes, of course. Because of the optics, the State Department actually came out with a statement claiming that Kerry lives on Martha's Vineyard and that he took a ferry, so he didn't fly at all, and that he did not travel there for the party. That's reassuring. John Kerry is always there to reassure us.
We are absolutely, clearly, without question, now inside the decisive decade. Hundreds of millions of people will be forced from their homes, forced from their habitat, from the place they've lived a lifetime.
Forced from their home, forced from their habitat. Is he talking about the climate or vaccine mandates? Because these days you just never know. Just keep the panic porn rolling, dear tyrants.
But if you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. That's the point we're trying to get across. It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary to living a good and full and healthy life.
Wait, can you please spell it out more for me, the dum-dum?
Don't get the vaccine, you can't go to the supermarket. Don't have the vaccine, you don't show it, can't go to the ball game. Don't have the vaccine, can't go to work. You don't have the vaccine, can't come here. No shirt, no shoes, no service. That's where I think we should be right now, because we continue to waste our breath on people who are just not going to change. They're, the circular logic. They just keep going back and saying, well, it's my freedom, it's whatever. I'm free. Well, your kid's not free to give other kids meningitis in schools. You got to take a vaccine to do that. You got to take vaccines in order to be employed. So what is the big deal?
Thank you, dear tyrant. But what do they know? Are de Blasio or Lemonhead doctors?
It's understandable that people want to do the kinds of things they want to do. They want their freedom to do that. But there comes a time when you're dealing with a public health crisis that could involve you, your family, and everyone else, that something supersedes that need to do exactly what you want to do. I mean, you're going to ultimately be able to do that in the future, but let's get this pandemic under control before we start acting like nothing is going on. I mean, something bad is going on. I mean, we've got to realize that.
Thank you for pointing that out, doctor of all doctors, the one and only Dr. Anthony Fauci, the greatest doctor not named Jill Biden. But wait, you weren't talking about the Obama birthday bash. You were talking about people driving their motorcycles more than 6 feet apart in Sturgis, South Dakota. Mea culpa. But maybe you were talking about Obama because your tone had some resentment for not being invited to his birthday party. You've both been in style, and yet Obama did not invite you to his party. That's cold, man.
Obama out.
I've always been told that the older you get, the less you care about what others think of you. Well, it's true. The older Barack Obama gets, and all of the lifetime politicians get, the less they actually think of you. We do have one man who isn't a lifetime politician, Senator Rand Paul, who has an actual medical license and knows at least something about science and the data of science.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. They can't keep every government building closed, although I've got a long list of ones they might keep closed or might ought to keep closed. We don't have to accept the mandates, lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again.
Ah, refreshing. And because it brings me so much joy to say someone who won't be a lifetime politician is Andrew Cuomo.
This is about politics. And our political system today is too often driven by the extremes. Rashness has replaced reasonableness. Loudness has replaced soundness. Twitter has become the public square for policy debate.
It appears the debate has been settled. Andrew won. He is, in fact, the dumber of the Cuomo brothers. Poor Fredo. The groper of New York claims to be resigning for his alleged sexual harassment of 11 women, but he'll resign in 14 days. Like how it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. How much more destruction will that man do in the next 14 days? Well, a tyrant got a tyrant, so get grandma out now. Again, they hate you. They hate your kids. They hate your life choices. But I like you, so that's something, right? Share this video with your friends to let them know that I like them too. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Joined now by Vicki McKenna for our weekly Culture Cast segment. Vicki, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure, Duke.
Well, the weird world we live in gets weirder. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, Vicki. We have absolutely surrendered anything like standards, trying to help kids get better at school. We have decided collectively, we've lost our minds, that it's better to promote illiterate and functionally illiterate students than it is to have any standards at all in the name of social justice. Talk about what the radical left-wing governor of Oregon, Kate Brown, what she just signed.
You know, what they're doing is actually celebrating illiteracy. That's what's going on here. You've got this governor of Oregon who quietly signs a piece of legislation that completely eliminates any proficiency standard measurements for the kids in her schools. So what we have, you know, the dumpster fire of public education couldn't be any more obvious at this point. Now, teachers don't have to teach. And students don't have to learn because we're not going to measure whether teachers teach or students learn. And why? Because learning and education and written word and showing your work and and time management and studying, these are all vestiges of white supremacy, or as they're calling it now, Duke, white inferiority. So apparently now it is superior to be illiterate in the United States, a country that is difficult to fail in unless you are illiterate. Now you've got the celebration of total failure as some kind of, cultural touchstone that the left, seems to think they need to defend. I don't have any words except it's time to defund this mess. Why would you want to pay over $1 trillion so that nobody is ever expected to learn anything? This is $1 trillion babysitting operation, not education. And in the state of Wisconsin, to the tune of about $15,000 or $16,000 per students per year, why don't we just zero it out and get the exact same result?
Well, also, they're real clever, these race baiters. They've decided to change the word white supremacy, which suggests, maybe there's something to that. Maybe there is something supreme, to white inferiority. And it's ironic, isn't it, that the majority of these inferior white kids who have all of this privilege, they know how to read. And what we're really punishing here is black and minority kids. What we're telling these kids in places like Oregon, we are going to waive all standards so you, inner city African-American kids primarily, who cannot read, who cannot do math to save their lives, you're going to get the same promotions, you're going to get the same benefits as kids who are actually learning are. You're going to end up going to college now and you're going to get money to do that. And this is equity. This is what equity means. Equity means that white kids and Asian kids who can read and do math and black and Hispanic kids who can't will be treated absolutely the same, except, of course, the white kids and the Asian kids are going to pay a price for knowing, while the non-white and Asian kids are actually promoted ahead of them in the name of equity. It's odd. It's really odd, and it's as far as you can get.
It's dysfunctional. It's completely dysfunctional. It can't work. This can't work. Illiterate people who are completely uneducated being falsely promoted based solely on the color of their skin. It's not going to work. It is completely dysfunctional. You need engineers, you need doctors, you need people who know how to read, you need literate people in a culture so that that culture actually appreciates that this is a participatory democracy, or at least we pretend it does. You need this. It does not work without access to the materials of basic knowledge. But here's another thing that Oregon's doing. I have no doubt that the scores in Oregon are the same as they are here in Wisconsin, in Green Bay, in Milwaukee, in Madison. In Milwaukee, 8.6% of Black children are literate in math. 9.6% are literate in English language arts. It's about the same in Madison. When you get rid of proficiency, what you're getting rid of is the spotlight and the magnifying glass on the on the many decade now long educational failure that we are paying enormous amounts of money for. And I don't know what it's going to take to finally get parents ticked off enough to actually abandon this failed, broken, decaying structure of education for something more rational. But maybe something like this is actually what it's going to take.
Yeah, I'm thinking this way. If you're going to be able to, as we're moving towards this, if government is able to mandate vaccines, they will eventually be able to mandate compulsory attendance at public schools. Let's not forget where this is heading. After the break.
They hate homeschooling. They hate it.
After the break, let's talk about the broader consequences of this for the American public. Joined again by Vicki McKenna for CultureCast. Vicki, we were just talking about the long-term consequences of hiding from the American people the illiteracy primarily of minority students. That's what the governor of Oregon just did. She made it impossible to determine what people are, at what level education are, because she got rid of all the standards and the procedures. So the broader implications to me, as we said right before the break, are pretty dire. We know, as you had said before, that the liberals really hate homeschool. They're not really real fond of private schools. If the government believes, and seems like they're going to get away with it, mandating masks. My school, UW Oshkosh, after hemming and hawing all summer, yesterday decided masks it is. Everyone's going to have to, whether you're vaccinated or not, you're going to have to wear masks on campus everywhere. And so if they can do that, what's to stop them from mandating public school attendance, getting rid of homeschools altogether?
I don't think that you should think they can't do it. Of course they can do it. Of course they will do it, because many people have already left this system. I was just taking a look at some school attendance numbers. 1,000 people left the Madison School District. That's a net loss of 1,000 kids in an already declining enrollment situation. Where are they going? They're not just disappearing from Wisconsin. They're going to private schools. They're going to religious schools. They're going to homeschools. Homeschooling in the United States has doubled because of what has happened in COVID, with parents finally seeing the lack of education and the high level of political indoctrination their children are being exposed to. But think about this. When you have just decided that proficiency and measuring, however you would like to measure it, maybe it's not a standardized test, but somehow you have to measure whether or not students are learning and whether or not teachers are teaching. If you don't do this, if you don't mandate that anybody have any kind of objective and measurable standard for education, then what we are going to do is create a massive, massive underclass in the United States that will be ready to unleash a revolution, a French-style revolution in this country, because they will be too ignorant of our history. They will be too, disconnected from the process of a representative democracy, that they won't know how to access the levers of power, and they won't have any power because they will be too illiterate to have any power. And so this is about, I think, teeing up, unleashing an ignorant revolution in this country that you won't be able to reason with. There won't be any argument against it, because argument itself has been rejected in favor of some kind of fake vision of equity. And think about this. Frederick Douglass preached about Black kids having access to education, about the importance of literacy so that Black people could participate in the ideals that our founding fathers laid out in the Constitution. Martin Luther King Jr. said the same thing, wrote extensively on education and the importance of literacy. And now we have, I guess, gone full circle, and we have decided to embrace ignorance as some kind of great, some sort of great trait that the suffering masses of people have. No, we are the ones making people ignorant, and anybody who stands by and lets this happen is complicit, and this is evil. It is evil, but you and I have spent a lot of time discussing the progressive mind. I would argue that a significant number of progressives
actually think they're benefiting, they're doing a favor, they're leveling the playing field by stripping all expectation away from black and brown students. They don't have to learn anything. They shouldn't have to learn anything. Teachers should spend all their time telling them how they deserve not to have to learn things. You have been a student of the leftist mind ever since you were young. I know your stories about being on the left when you were in college. Explain, before we have to go here, just explain the mind of the liberal progressive. Is it something they actually believe that they're doing help here, or is it more dangerous than that? They know exactly what they're doing to this country in the long term.
I think the people in power know exactly what they're doing, Duke. I think some of the sort of mid-level progressives who are out there, chanting Black Lives Matter, I think they're probably honestly think somehow against all logic, against all history, that this will work. But I think the people who are pulling the levers here are people who know exactly what they're doing. And an ignorant population is a population that can be ruled. And you have a group of people who do not think that representative democracy is something that is an ideal. They don't trust the people. They think the people are morons. They want to disconnect the people from any access to power. And they want to be able to determine for the ignorant masses the choices that we would never make for ourselves that are good for us. They want to rule us. They believe they're ruling us because they're better and more benevolent. And that this is the sort of tough love that we're going to have to live through. But mark my word, it's not right now. It's black kids, it's Hispanic kids that are going to be dumbed down. But in very short order, these changes will make sure an entire population is too illiterate to fight back.
And you have a Republican Party that's hemming and hawing over virus mandates. Should we or shouldn't we? You would think this would be one area in which independents, moderate Democrats, and Republicans could unite to fight this. And what are we doing? What is the plan here?
The Republicans are too busy trying to figure out ways to give Joe Biden a massive infrastructure win that will cost $3.5 trillion that we don't have.
Been a long week of some very depressing stories, but it's time now for our end segment, Instant Classics, where we try to bring you something uplifting, some reminder of what education used to be and what the potential of education is still if we were to turn back to it, opening the minds of young minds to beauty, to culture, to history, to the great joys of art. Seems like a lost cause, but we're going to keep fighting that battle anyway. And so we continue with Frederick Edwin Church Week, the great painter of the sublime. And take a look at this picture, please. This is called El Rio de Luz, a.k.a. also known as Morning in the Tropics, or, of course, the river, the light on the river, basically. It's an 1877, a very late oil painting by the American landscape artist Frederick Church. It is his last large-scale painting of South America. He did a number of them, some really impressive pictures. The Andes of Ecuador, for instance, in 1855, and the Heart of the Andes in 1859. Really remarkable pictures. Like them, this painting is a composite of many, many sketches and drawings Church made while traveling in the South American areas across those countries for 20 years before. And this one is just gorgeous. It's one of my favorites. The way painting, if you boil painting down to two things, ultimately, it's about light and it's about geometry. I mean, it's really interesting, right? It's about the physics of light and the mathematics of geometry. For a humanistic way of approaching the world, painting is considered one of the fine arts. It's amazing how reliant it is on physics and math. And here you can see what a brilliant job Church does of conveying light. You see the light in the clouds there. This is the rainforest, and while the sun is brutally hot at times, those lowering rain clouds are always there. And these darkish, grayish clouds have parted. The sun is beginning to shine. You could almost feel the humidity rising as you watch the light in this film, of this painting. It hits the river. You can see it illuminate the less beautiful streak of light going up the entirety of the river, almost tying right in with the very kind of gauzy sun, very small off in the distance. And there is around it, surrounding this beautiful imagery, you've got the dark trees that are all leaning and growing towards the light. This is about light. It's about texture. It's about water. You can feel the sodden nature of the air, the water in the air and all around you. It makes you start that little trickle of sweat pour down the temple of your head, just watching and imagining what you have here. It really is a tour de force, and one of the great final paintings that Church produced about his time in South America. All right, just a quick reminder that the best way to access our content is to download our Freedom Project Media app. You simply search Freedom Project in your app store and get access to 18 new videos a week. 18. All you got to do is hit notify, and we send them to you, no questions asked. You can watch them when and if you want. You can watch all of them, or you can pick. You can focus just on the Dr. Duke Show. It's absolutely free of charge. And if you enjoy our content, please consider joining our Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation allows us to bring you stories like this every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us and make your tax-deductible donation of $99, and we will ship you our signature tumbler as a thank you. You help us to keep going. Now, we do want to take a moment to show some love to our Patriot Club members. Today, we give a loud, proud shout out to Richard from Pensacola, Florida. Richard, I know you're doing the best to support Governor DeSantis and supporting us by watching the program. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And that will do it for today. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.